In this video, we're going to meet the quadratic formula. The quadratic formula is this formula right here. X equals negative b plus minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So in this problem, they're giving us the equation that they want us to solve. X squared plus 7x plus 12 equals 0. They're also giving us the solutions. So we already have the answers. We're just going to show that these are the correct answers. So the nice thing about this is it allows you to check your work and make sure that you're on the right track. So my first equation is x squared plus 7x plus 12 equals 0. And my solutions are negative 3 and negative 4. When we're using the quadratic formula to solve, what we need to do first is identify what a, b, and c are and plug them into the equation. So when I have a quadratic equation and there is no number in front of x squared, then there's an invisible 1 there, and that's going to be what a is. So a is going to be 1. B is always the number in front of x. In this case, that's going to be 7. And c is the number that's by itself. So in this case, that will be 12. So when I plug into the quadratic formula, the first thing that I'm plugging in is minus b. Now, the b here is going to have the opposite sign of whatever the b that you have has. So minus b in this case is going to make minus 7. If my b was already negative, then it would change to positive because it would be minus a negative, which changes to plus. So we're going to have negative 7 plus or minus the square root, and now we're going to have b squared. Again, you want to be careful if b is negative, because when you square a negative number, you should come up with a positive number. So make sure that you put a negative number in parentheses. B squared minus 4 times a times c. A is 1 and c is 12. So I'm plugging in a and c. And then lastly, we have a fraction bar here. This is all divided by 2 times a, which is 1. Now, what I need to do next is go through and simplify everything. And it's usually easiest if you start with what is under the square root. So we have negative 7 plus or minus. I know that 7 squared is 49. And I know that 4 times 1 times 12 is 4 times 12, which is 48. So this is going to be 49 minus 48, because there's a minus sign in between them. And then I'm going to have that all over 2 times 1, which is 2. Next, I'm going to combine what's under the square root symbol into a single number. For this problem, that's pretty easy. 49 minus 48 is 1. So that's going to be the square root of 1. So negative 7 plus or minus square root of 1 over 2. Now, if this number here under the square root is not a perfect square, at this point I'm done with the problem. But in this case, it is a perfect square. I know that the square root of 1 is 1. So I'm going to take that square root. Square root of 1 is 1. If it were, for example, square root of 25, then I would write 5 here. So whatever that square root is, I would do that. Now, at this point, what I'm going to do is break it up into 2 separate problems and break apart the plus and minus sign. So we're going to have negative 7 plus 1 over 2 and negative 7 minus 1 over 2. Then I'm going to simplify each of these. So negative 7 plus 1 is negative 6, and negative 6 divided by 2 is negative 3. So that's one of my solutions. The other one is negative 7 minus 1, which is negative 8, divided by 2, which is negative 4. So that's my other solution. And notice that these match the 2 solutions that I was given. And I want to make sure that they do, otherwise that means that I made a mistake somewhere along the line. And there's a lot of places where you can make a mistake in the quadratic formula, especially with the signs. You really have to watch the minus signs here. So, number 2, we're going to do this one. X squared minus 8x plus 11 equals 0. So my first step is identifying a, b, and c. So again, we have an invisible 1 here in front of x squared. So a is going to be 1. B, in this case, is going to be negative 8 because there's a minus sign in front of the 8. And c is going to be positive 11. So next, I'm going to plug into the quadratic formula. I will write it over here just so we can see it. If you don't have it memorized, that's okay. You can just refer to it in your notes. So we're plugging in. Now in this case, b is negative, so minus negative 8 is going to change to plus 8. And then we're going to have plus minus the square root of. Now again, I want to be careful with this. When I'm squaring negative 8, that's going to be positive 64. Don't let your calculator fool you. Negative times negative is a positive. Then we have minus 4 times a, which is 1, times c, which is 11. Whoops, that's red. And then we're dividing everything by 2 times a, which again is 1. So let's go through and simplify here. We have positive 8, so I won't write the plus sign, I'll just write an 8. Plus minus the square root of negative 8 squared is positive 64. And then minus 4 times 1 times 11, which is 44, divided by 2. So let's subtract those two numbers under the square root. 64 minus 44 is 20. And then this is divided by 2. Now, it looks kind of similar to what it says that my solutions are. We have the square root of 20 and we have the 2, but we don't have the 4. So what they're doing in order to get it to look like that is they are taking these two and they are simplifying this division. So one way that you can think of it is you're breaking it up into two separate fractions. We have 8 over 2 plus minus square root of 20 over 2. Breaking up that denominator so that we're writing it under each part of the top. And now 8 over 2, I can simplify that to 4. So it's 4 plus or minus square root of 20 over 2.